morning, teacher and class. My name is Zambrano Joanna. My presentation faces the randomized trial of vasodilators and cyclic cells. Introduction. Cyclic cells disease is a group of inherited disorder of red blood cells. If you have it, there is a problem where your hemoglobin is a protein in red blood cells that carries oxygen through the body. In a cyclic cell disease, hemoglobin is a shake-like reduced bar inside the red blood cells. Developing. What causes cyclic cell disease? The cause of cyclic cell disease is an abnormal gene called cyclic cell gene, while the diseases are born with two cyclic cell genes, one from each parent. So watch the following video.
Thank you, and good morning. These are my disclosures. I'm a consultant on the advisory board for Global Blood Therapeutics, the sponsor of this trial, and I have entered patients into this trial. I'd like to thank EHA for inviting us to present the results of the HOPE study. This is a phase 3 study looking at voxelotor in adults and adolescents with sickle cell disease. So, what is voxelotor? Well, it's a novel, oral, once-daily preparation which acts on preventing hemoglobin F polymerization. This is really the root cause of the problem in sickle cell disease. The hemoglobin polymerization of the abnormal hemoglobin leads on to red cell damage, and it then leads to both vaso-occlusion as well as to hemolysis. The vaso-occlusion leads on to pain crisis, or the VOC, whereas hemolysis leads on to anemia and also onto chronic organ damage, including an increased risk of stroke, pulmonary hypertension, renal disease, and indeed an increased risk of death. An improvement of hemoglobin can potentially reduce all these clinical complications and reduce the death rate as well. To move on to the phase 3 trial, this was published in the New England Journal this morning, so I'm really happy to be able to share the results with you today. This trial included 274 patients, adolescents and adults. They all had at least one VOC and not more than 10 VOCs in the previous year. They were also allowed to be taking hydroxyurea as long as it was stable dose for 3 months. They were randomized into 3 groups: voxelotor 1500 milligrams, voxelotor 900 milligrams, and placebo. The primary endpoint of the trial was an increase in hemoglobin of at least 1 gram per deciliter at 24 weeks. This is a clinically significant increase in hemoglobin. Secondary endpoints included hemolytic markers and hemoglobin, the mean hemoglobin increase at week 24, as well as VOCs, pain crises. Let's now look at the key primary endpoint of the trial. In dark blue, you can see the results in the voxelotor 1500 milligram group. Almost 60% of patients here had an increase in hemoglobin of 1 gram per deciliter. This was both statistically significant and clinically meaningful. You can also see that a lot of patients had an increase in hemoglobin above 1 gram per deciliter, in between 1 and 4 grams per deciliter. The pale blue is the voxelotor 900 milligrams, and they also had an increase in hemoglobin of 38%, reaching more than 1 gram per deciliter. this was also statistically significant. And in the placebo in red, 9% reached a haemoglobin of more than 1 gram per decilitre increase. In the red boxes, you can see the number of patients who had a reduction of haemoglobin at 24 weeks. And this was reduced threefold in the group on voxelotor 1500 milligrams. So treatment with voxelotor achieved a rapid and sustained improvement in haemoglobin and hemolysis. Patients had an improvement in haemoglobin within the first 2 weeks of treatment. They also had a reduction in hemolytic markers and an increase of mean haemoglobin of 1.3 grams per decilitre at 24 weeks. Patients walked into our clinic at 2 weeks feeling less fatigued with a raised haemoglobin having less jaundice. At the 1500 milligram group, nearly 60% had an increase of 1 gram per decilitre. And in subgroup analysis, this was irrespective of baseline anemia or hydroxyurea use. So patients had an improvement of haemoglobin whether or not they were on hydroxyurea, and also those with a haemoglobin of below 7 grams per decilitre or above 7 grams per decilitre all had an increase in haemoglobin. It was safe and well tolerated with no major safety concerns. And VOCs were actually reduced despite the marked increase in haemoglobin, although this didn't reach statistical significance, and it will be reanalysed at 72 weeks. And there was no evidence of any concerns about tissue oxygenation, with stable erythropoietin levels seen. So in conclusion, voxelotor improves haemoglobin and reduces hemolysis in patients with sickle cell disease. This has the potential to reduce the chronic morbidity of sickle cell disease and to improve the lives of our patients. I'd just like to finish by thanking all the participants in the trial, all the patients and their families, and all the physicians and staff who put patients into it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and for sharing these impressive data with us in this most frequent red cell disorder worldwide. So it's open for discussion now from the press. Please mention your name and the journal or newspaper that you represent. There are microphones, walking microphones here. But you can also take that one, whatever you wish. A walking microphone.
Hi, Neil Osterweil with Hematology News. So how does this compound perform are there differences between adults and children in their responses?
No, there don't seem to be. So certainly this trial went down to 12, so it included people from 12 to 65, and there was no difference between the age of patients in the trial.
So are these results similar to what was reported in the Hope Kids trial?
Yes, but these are for longer, so and larger numbers of patients.
Thank you.
Further questions? If I may ask you a question, I mean, you reported that the treatment was safe without major side effects, but were there any side effects at all?
Yeah, so there wasn't. There were no serious adverse events reported, and the rate of discontinuation was the same in all groups. There was an increase in diarrhea in the treated group, about twofold, but it was all mild, only grade 1 or 2, and no patients discontinued, and it was self-limited.
And then there appears to be a dose-effect relationship, because the improvement was even better with the highest dose. Did you consider, given the safety profile, to further increase the dose? Well,
it's thought that the voxelotor occupancy needs to be between 20 and 30%, and it reached 26% in the voxelotor, so that's probably a pretty optimal dose.
Okay, that sounds rational. Any further questions from the audience?
The bulbing. What causes sickle cell disease? The cause of sickle cell disease is an abnormal hernia. Called sickle cell hernia. People with the disease are born with two sickle cell hernia, one from her parent. If it is born with a sickle cell hernia, it is called sickle cell strain. People with sickle cell strain are hemorrhagic. Both can transmit the defective hernia to third children. The Bible. What are the symptoms of sickle cell disease? People with sickle cell disease begin to have signs of the disease during the first year of life, usually around 5 months of age. The first symptoms may include painful swelling of the hands, hand feet, fatigue, or irritability due to anemia, a yellowing of the skin, or the whites of the hair. Conclusion. Fenaric warehouse concludes the great importance that such great or organized functionality has it is in the cause of red blood cells and the complications that takes place when they are ammonia. Single starving harmonic have their cause from these waters due to genetic or environmental mutations altered in this earnest of sickle cell anemia. It is called genetically. Thank you.